Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. Let's go. You don't need to hear this. Rimi grabbed me by the hand and tried to pull me into the room. I could sense her desperation. She was afraid of something. Everything I was saying is a lie. You're the liar. Aoi, just leave. Leave Taku alone. Who was I supposed to believe? How could a math formula be so important? You really don't know anything. Einstein created the equation. He was squared in the same way the equation created the future, where nuclear weapons are real. Your invention of IR2 will have the same effect. No, an even greater effect on the world. IR2 makes the silent weapons possible. Silent weapons? Mind reading, induced hallucinations, sensory control. Those were the technology that Senna had told me about before. The ones in the patent. The question that would be sent is like, I wrote that on my essay as a 4th grader. How did other people get a hold of this? What even in the essay was on the back? Gigalomaniacs will cease to be special. No, cease to be unusual. These terrible powers will now be usable by everyone. All you'll need is a device that IR2 makes possible. Of course, before that happens, some of the world's worst scum will monopolize that power themselves and brainwash the rest of us until we're no more than cattle. I didn't know anything about any of this. I had no idea. Even if what Senna said was true, I never meant to make anything like that. I was just a kid scribbling on a paper. I hadn't done anything wrong. Wow. But then, this IM2, IR2, it explains exactly how a Gigalomaniac's powers works. So what that guy said was right. The most important person was the boy who invented whose eyes are those. He meant Takumi. Okay, again, how did they get a hold of my scribbling that I did as like a 4th grader? Can't remember how old I would have been at that point. Kosumi's voice was cheerful, but I wasn't as innocent and pure as she was. Rimi said nothing. But Senna, her eyes wide, suddenly looked up and staggered to her feet. Why did she seem like she was having trouble walking? Was it because of whatever Rimi had done to her? Kozue? What did you say? What? Oh, the guy! Right, that's your dad. I only know because I'm the person beyond the 4th wall has been seeing hallucination you saw, and Rimi's flashback. Not Rimi, well, also that one too, but Kozue's flashback. Upi? Senna began to storm towards the stunned Kozupi. What man? The one who told Kozupi how important the D-swords were. The first person I talked to since coming to Tokyo. He had a weird sign and a look that kind of made your nose go. It said, the end is near, or something, or something. Why didn't you tell me about this earlier? Oh yeah, I'm going to tell you about every random person I meet in the world. Why would you care? I didn't know it was important. That's him. I finally found him. Neither me nor Mimi nor Kozu had any idea what she was talking about. All we could do was watch in intense fury descend on her. I can finally kill him. An experiment had been performed, but she never knew. Okay. She was a normal housewife, close to turning 40, newly pregnant with her second child. Maybe she wasn't quite normal. Her first daughter was already 1 year away from high school, so there would be almost a 15-year gap between her children. Okay. She was worried that her daughter was currently going through puberty, would rebel against having a younger sister, but in fact, her daughter was overjoyed. Her husband was a scientist, and between his faith and his research, only rarely came home. But whenever he was home, he did his best to be a good father and a good husband. So while she certainly had her complaints, her love for her husband was firm. The second child was born uneventfully. She was a healthy young girl who weighed... You actually have an exact amount of grams. Weighed 2,579 grams at birth. She named the girl Mana. Unfortunately, after that, the husband was transferred to a new location far away from home. Her husband wouldn't last a week without someone to do the chores and the food, so she had no choice but to send her old daughter along with her. She was now alone for newborn Mana. At her husband's suggestion, the two of them moved into housing owned by the company he worked for, so rent was extremely low. Her family had originally lived in a condo in the suburbs, but it was far from the city center and hard to get anywhere. The dorm, however, was located right in the heart of Shibuya, and many of her husband's colleagues nearby. She'd have easy access to childcare, and if anything came up, she'd have people around her who could help her. The place was extremely spacious. The bedroom especially was a favorite of hers. A huge mirror covered a whole wall, and on the other side there was a big window. From there, you could look down on Yoyogi Park. Okay? She quickly became friends with the ladies in the nearby residences, and the corporate benefits even included a maid. She was proud that her husband was important enough in the company for her to have all these benefits. She was more than satisfied with her life of luxury. 2 years passed, man was a little slow, but she was growing up without suffering any major illnesses. She was, however, a very needy child. If she wasn't constantly held at the mother's breasts, she'd start crying immediately. For the past month or so, Mana... Okay... I'm a little concerned about the whole experiment thing going on. Mana's mother hadn't been feeling well at all. The ringing in her ears was the worst part. It bothered her almost all the whole day, but still she couldn't let the maid or the lady next door take care of Mana. Mana couldn't stand to be away from her for a second. Not in the bathroom, not when taking a bath. Whenever she even thought of letting the maid hold her for a second, Mana would somehow know and start crying. It was, in a way, endearing to have a young child so reliant on her, but it also meant that she couldn't leave the house for an instant. The maid and her neighbor, though, were there to help. She was so lucky to have met them. Was she? Of course, things were gradually getting strange with them, too. A week ago, she had been talking with her neighbor in the living room, and when the woman had suddenly started to vomit without warning, she quickly fled afterward, running outside of the house. I mean, but that would make sense. I mean, it's only been a week, so perhaps she'd gotten sick. Yeah, but I mean, normally you get sick. I mean, okay, I'm sick, there's a baby here, or a child, actually, at this point, going 3 years old or something. I should probably leave the area so I don't get people with weakened immune system sick. And his mother decided to ask the maid to go check on the neighbor. Maybe just finish up the day when she made the request. The maid suddenly, and I'll see you tomorrow. The maid suddenly began to cry. The maid just nodded over and over before leaving. Okay. And that night, Mana's mother suffered terribly as the ring in her ears got more violent than before, and the pain threatened to split her head open. She tried to call an ambulance, but the phones didn't work. She tried to get the neighbor's lady for help, but even that was too difficult. Her daughter started to cry violently, and the crying made the pain worse. She held Mana tight to her chest, enduring the pain. Suddenly, the crying and the ringing in her ears stopped. The pain in her head was gone, like it had never been there. She looked down, and she saw she was holding the shriveled corpse of a child. What do you mean, shriveled? What do you mean, shriveled? Before she realized that the whole thing was an experiment, her mind broke into a million pieces. Okay, I feel like there's more explanation required here. An experiment had been performed, but it wasn't what he had expected it to be. Okay. He was a scientist at Nozomi Technologies and a believer in the Cosmic Church of the Divine Light. He was the one of the key figures behind Nozomi Tech's secret project Noah, and the one who'd solved the riddle of the... So what, you were my teacher or something? You're like what, my third grade math teacher or some shit? Also, that's your wife in there. So she never was in a luxury anything. She was just in like a insane asylum sort of bin with mind control device on her head. The headaches were her mind's trying to be like, hey, something's fucking wrong here. And you spent years watching her go through this hell. I mean, I can't really feel compassion for you. It'd be one thing like, okay, you're just a scientist, you're doing some equations, you're trying to help the world by trying to improve technology. There's no sin in that. There's no wrong in that. There's no wrong in that part of it. At that point, you know, hey, you're innocent and everything, you know, you're being too hard on yourself, being the end is nigh thing. But that's where we're just saying, hey, you're just doing some math, and you're just trying to, even if you're making a weapon to fight people that are, you know, an enemy who is trying to kill the people you care about. That being said, one, even if this weren't your wife, you're putting an innocent person through this. I mean, there are people who have certainly upset me through my life. I wouldn't wish this on them. Even for a day. Let alone for multiple years? And I'm assuming the kid was dead at the start of this. But like I said, if it was just an issue like he's just a scientist doing some math and stuff, that's fine. It's cool. He's do it. He's just, you know, pursuing knowledge and wisdom is not a bad thing. And trying to make the world a better place is not a bad thing. But locking an innocent person in a room and doing this to them, that is a bad thing. That's a very bad thing. And the fact that it's someone you care about, it's your wife. I mean, in any kind of relationship, no matter who you are, you should care about your partner. You should, you know, want to protect your partner. You should, I don't know, want to shield them from cruelty, not be the cause of it. I mean, here's the thing. Like, you just doing the math equations, or even just making a weapon to fight enemies, I would say there's no sin in it. But doing this to an innocent person, that really fucking bad. But the fact that it's your fucking wife? This is somebody that you love, somebody who loves you, somebody who... Then again, let's be clear. On the one hand, before we get to the whole this shit going on, let's say everything was the up and up and there was nothing, you know, sinister going on. There's still the fact that neither of you really cared about spending a couple years away from each other. I mean, what kind of couple is okay with not being around each other? I mean, I understand some people, but it's like, if both people mutually feel okay with that, I guess. But I'm just saying this. I mean, if I had a relationship, I don't have to be around them like 24/7. I don't. I mean, I'd still want some space to myself and boundaries and stuff. But I'm going to want to see them every day. Heck, even if I don't live with them. But especially if I did, I'd want to, you know, spend time with them every day. And I understand, like, assuming that this stuff wasn't going on. I mean, yes, I understand with some jobs, you know, certain jobs out there require an interview, at which point that's a sacrifice that you are making for the sake of taking care of your family. But it's not something that should ever, you know, be considered easy. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sure there's many people that do make a sacrifice of having to be at a job for months on end and not coming home to see their family. And I'm sure there's many people who are like that it probably breaks their heart every single day. But then again, I would say there's also a lot of people that probably just don't give a shit either. Now, what's the percentages of that? I don't know. I would think the vast majority of people in those fields, you know, truly love their spouses and just feel, you know, miserable about it, but feel that it's a necessary sacrifice in order to do what's right. At the same time, I'm sure there's some people that don't care, or, you know, they're like, hey, we see people enough, but like, I don't know, what can I say? I'm the kind of person that I wouldn't, if I was in a serious relationship, I'd want to be able to see the person every day. So there's the fact that you weren't really there for your wife in that situation. But then again, I mean, you couldn't really be, given this circumstance. Here's the thing also, has she been wearing that helmet thing the whole time? Like, has she been able to, like, shower? Like, shouldn't realistically, granted I'm glad they didn't do it, but shouldn't realistically she be, like, covered in bruises and dirt, and rashes and blisters and boils from long-term effects of not bathing? Shouldn't her hair basically be clumps of dirt and dreadlocks? Shouldn't her scalp be so deteriorated from wearing that helmet thing for so long that it's oozing blood? But all that aside, was the child ever alive? Did the baby die after birth? Was it... It's like, hey, this horrible thing happened. Or was it born dead? Like, what's happening here? Was it ever... Was the second child ever exist in the first place? And here's the thing. Like I said, if you're just a scientist doing, you know, the math stuff, or even if you know you're making a weapon to kill people, it's like, okay, it's killing people that are enemies, that if they don't die, innocent people will die, so you're doing what you have to protect innocent people. At which point you're doing stuff that's not meant to harm any innocent people. You're not, like, testing the weapons on innocent people. This is... You're... One, that's an innocent person being put through a really fucked up situation. Two, that's your wife. That's supposed to be someone you care about, someone you love, someone who cares about you. Like, relationships are supposed to be mutual trust and mutual love. You should both care deeply about one another. Like, I feel like it's already a pretty bad fuck up to do that to anybody. But I still feel maybe that's redeemable. maybe optimism voice, but this isn't. Doing something like this to somebody who trusts you, to someone who loves you, that's not redeemable. That's... He was one of the key figures behind Nozomi Tech's secret Project Noah, and the one who solved the riddle. Okay, so you're the one who solved the riddle. You know what I'm really concerned about? One, we have not encountered in person Takumi's parents. Is one of these a relation of his? Is maybe the guy right there actually Takumi's dad? But, you know, Takumi's mom is, you know, a different woman? Was he having multiple families? Or is that guy there actually Takumi? It's like, is this guy Takumi? Just in his, like, 40s or some shit. And then Shogun is Takumi is like, I don't know, Gandalf age. And they can also travel time and well, here's the question. If you're a person like that, and it winds up being a different version of you that does a thing, are you the bad guy? No. They'd be like saying the multiverse thing with Doctor Strange. Okay, what if someone... Well, I'm just saying this. You have to really be able to have knowledge of things and consent of things in order to be... I would say everything has very many extenuating circumstances. I would say the best idea is just use common sense. But, yeah. I feel like there's some interesting design choices. That being said, would that mean that me and Senna are brother and sister? Heck, maybe we're all related. Everyone in Tokyo is sister and brother. But yeah, were you like my third grade math teacher? I kind of want to see your reaction to seeing my essay and just turning it over. Like, what the fuck is this? He had offered his pregnant wife. Pregnant! He had offered his pregnant wife as a test subject for the experiment. As a direct... Okay. Direct order. A person he admired deeply. It was a direct order from the church's leader, a person he admired deeply, but he had also been the one to suggest it, to make the experiment a success. It was called the Mana experiment, after the code name given to his wife's daughter. His older daughter was given to a church facility while he monitored his sequestered wife, Mana, 24 hours a day. That's... Well, I mean, at least you're going through your own personal hell at that point for... Well, being a piece of shit. If your church demands you to give up a family member, someone you love and care about, as a fucking sacrifice, you burn that church down. Because that's the thing, like, that's one problem I have with the idea of sin, of basically being, oh, you have to, you know, sin is disobedience. Okay, so what's that? Do as you're told or I'll hit you? Follow orders or you're evil? At that point, that's not too far off from Hitler. Besides, the idea of everyone falls short because everyone's a sinner, and everyone falls short of the grace of God. Like, obviously no one's a fucking god or some shit, and people shouldn't be arrogant. But if you constantly belittle people and basically, criticize them for everything and tell them that no matter what they do, they're bad, that's gonna create some resentment there. People are either gonna shut down or lash out. What his wife had thought was a company-owned condo was, in fact, a Nosby technology testing facility, in a location on the Noah 2 prototype that he was working on. Mind reading, induced hallucination, sensory control. His wife and daughter would be used to test the efficacy of these technologies here in the sealed lab. The effects of electromagnetic radiation on the body were ill understood, and he had planned to cancel the experiment if anything unusual had happened to his wife and daughter. An accident occurred almost immediately. Mana died roughly a month after being born. The cause of her death was unknown. While considering that there are hundreds of people that died from the second melt earthquake that occurred. Apparently, massive bursts of electromagnetic pulses into a human body, let alone a developing or immature one, is extraordinarily dangerous. It was an accident, one that nobody could prevent. I don't know, maybe not have, the baby next to a fucking particle accelerator. Hey, you know what? Let's have a 1-month-old next to a newborn baby next to the neutron collider. What could go wrong? It was deeply saddened. I mean, nobody could prevent this accident. I didn't know having this nursery next to this nuclear reactor would have been bad. He was deeply sad and tried to cancel the experiment, but that wasn't going to happen. It's quite interesting, don't you think? That's what his employer had said. The man had been looking at the strange going on in the test lab. His wife had refused to accept the reality of her daughter's death and treated her corpse like it was still alive. In fact, from his wife's perspective, she was. This was an effect of the Noah 2 prototype, in a sense, the perfect chance to test its abilities. His feelings on the matter were irrelevant, and before long he began to feel that his wife would be better off if the experiment continued. Hey, honey! I decided it was a good idea to tell you the truth, because but by the way, everyone's dead, and it's my fault. It's like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have worked for the billionaires with questionable morals. I mean, they didn't get their monies. They didn't make money by being ethical. As he watched his wife through the one-way mirror, cradling his daughter's corpse, it seemed like she was happy with her life. How have you not killed yourself? Like, that's... And I'm not even saying now, I mean, during the course of this situation. It's like, I think at this point it's not like, maybe she's better off than delusion. Nope. Maybe it's better if I just set Noah 2 to go fucking nuclear and blow the entire building to ashes. She stared at the wallpaper in the opposite side, which looked to her like a window over the Yoyari Park, and whispered softly to her daughter. Two of the research staff took care of her. One would pretend to be a maid, the other the lady next door. As long as the experiment continued, his wife's mind would be just fine. This was what he told himself. That was best for her. Perhaps her mind had broken before hers. And the more time passed, the more his goals changed from the completion of Noah 2 to keeping his wife locked within her dream. And then, after almost 2 years, his employer words suddenly brought all that to an end. We have enough data. Noah 2 will begin full operation soon. There's no point in continuing this experiment. He fought back as hard as he could, but as a result, he was branded a traitor and removed from the project. As a final thanks for his service, he was allowed to be in the experiment room, hands tied on the day it was shut down. His daughter, whom he had seen for nearly 2 years, had been brought there as well. Oh my god. Yeah, when she saw him, she seemed confused. I would be too, but then once you understand, I think Senna is justified wanting to fucking hate and kill this dude. Though I would say the people truly to blame are the people in charge, but he still made a choice at this. Dad, what's going on here? What did you do to Mom? Alright, she's been living with me this whole time. Wait, how was I monitoring her 24/7? I sleep and stuff, but it's still. What is she holding? I mean, you do see me zip-tied to a fucking chair, right? Obviously, Dr. Dude is fucked up, but I'm zip-tied to a chair. He couldn't answer. The guilt kept him from even looking her in the eye. The horrible ceremony was about to begin. The neighbor later had already become unable to tolerate the stench, and the maid had run out of the lab weeping at his wife's words. Then the device was shut down. The dream ended, and his wife broke. At the sight of her daughter suddenly turning into a desiccated corpse, at least that's how it must seem to her, she snapped, tearing out her hair and ripping the skin off her face and nose. Honestly, understandable reaction. I mean, that is a horrible circumstance to happen. I mean, yeah. She began to laugh madly. Again, that's a normal response to this sort of thing. Slamming her face again and again into the wall. Yeah, again, this is a normal response to this kind of thing. Before grabbing a knife and killing herself by stabbing out her own eyes. I mean, probably could have just gone for your throat. I mean, I don't know why you had to go for the eyeballs. Her daughter was screaming and crying as she watched her mother's last moments through the one-way mirror. Now here's the thing, had she seen her other daughter there, would she have, you know, not? And she's like, hey, what? And then maybe, like, cried on her shoulder? But yeah. This is understandable. That's also a very normal response to this thing. Lab staff grabbed his daughter by the arms and dragged her off somewhere I didn't know where. He wasn't even allowed to follow the only family he had left. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He blamed himself. It was all his fault. Whatever his reasons. When he opted to continue the experiment 2 years prior, it had been obvious that this was how it was going to end. Several days after watching his wife's death, he disappeared. Nobody knew where he was now. Senna ended up running off on her own after angrily asking Kozubi some kind of question. Kozubi had gone after Senna. I had no idea what made her suddenly go crazy. Now I was slowly trudging to Shimo Kitazawa. I was almost home. It wasn't even 30 minutes from the base. Was Nanami there? Shimo Kitazawa's streets were busy, though not as busy as Shibuya. The second boy incident was still fresh in my mind. Some would point and laugh at me while others would take pictures with their cell phones. I hurried home as fast as I could, suffering the feelings of embarrassment and humiliation. I'm sorry. Rimi was walking a little behind me. Her eyes looked on the ground. Below her, she whispered. She said that at least 10 times on the way here. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. There was nothing I could say. I didn't understand Rimi. That had always been the case. Rimi had been there to support me. She'd been there for me. But there was so much about her I didn't understand. Until now, I'd always opted to just ignore it. Maybe that was because it felt like any of those things I didn't understand ever came out in the open, Rimi would go away. And I was afraid of that. Why? Why are you staying with me? I managed to work up the courage to ask that single question. Why would Rimi want to be anywhere near a guy like me? Was it because she was like Yua and trying to set me up for a fall? But the answer wasn't what I expected. I didn't want you to wake up. I wanted you to live a normal life. She didn't want me to wake up. To awaken as a gigalomaniac? Is that what she meant? Am I in a building with a fucking thing on my head? Is none of this place real? Are we just in a large, like, Rick and Morty basement type thing? And me, Senna, Remy... So what, did Senna never escape? That, when Senna was taken away, we were all both just sedated. And then we were taken to a room where me, Remy, Senna, Kozue, Nanami... Does that also mean Bon and Sua and Momo are also in this room in a coma? Are there only 20 actual human beings in this entire city? And we're all just like in a Rick and Morty basement. Like, am I just... Am I Shogun? Am I the 90-year-old guy who's just... Am I both Shogun and Senna's dad while also being me as a teenager in a coma Matrix world with like 9 other people also in the Matrix, and there's like several million other people that are just not real? Remy knew about me, more about me than I did myself. Just, who are you? I'm... Remy hesitated. I'm your friend, I think. I want to be your friend. Did that mean she didn't want me to ask any more questions? But I had to ask, am I a gigalomaniac? You could say that, but you could also say you're not. Which was it? Was she trying to confuse me? Did you know about IR2? I'd heard about it. Nothing more. She didn't say who told her about it. Is what Senna said true? It's a lie. She was lying. She was lying when she said it was a lie. I could tell just by looking at her. Are you... I wanted to ask her another question, but stopped. Was Remy on my side or my enemy? If I asked and got the wrong answer, she might leave me forever, so I couldn't ask. If I just pretend nothing had happened, if I just let her lie to me, everything could go back to how it was before. That'd be easier. I'd be happier that way. Maybe. Yeah, I should just do that. I could pretend to be an idiot. I could just let her keep lying to me. She saved me enough time so she probably wasn't going to hurt me in the future. All I had to do was give her what she wanted and lead a normal life. Thank you. I looked away from her and thanked her instead of asking her a question. For protecting me. Taku. I couldn't think of anything else to say, so I just silently followed the path home. Soon I came to a street I recognized. It was in a cramped, quiet neighborhood. Once in a while you could hear the sound of the trains in the distance. I'd known this place since I was a little kid. This was where I'd grown up. I'd followed the same road to elementary school and to middle school. I just had to turn down the narrow street. And in front of me, and home would be right there. Is home real? I was scared to face Nanami, but I had to see whether her arm was still attached. Was my sister ever real to begin with? Are my parents actually real? Has everyone just been dead for a long time? Am I like 100 years old and they've been dead for like 90? I stopped and took a deep breath to calm myself. Then I went to take a step forward when... Are the government people having conspiracies with each other? Are they real? Or are they AI programs that think they're government politicians? And they're not even real to begin with themselves. Wait. I turned back to see Remy was looking at me. She was on the verge of tears. Do you really have to go? Is there a reason I shouldn't see my own family? Please? Don't go. You'll never have a normal life again. I don't want that for you. What did that mean? Let's go back, okay? And obviously, if like my family doesn't actually exist, you can't tell me that, because that would also defeat the purpose of protecting me from that truth. Back to your home up on the roof. I'll stay with you as long as you want. Type in the comments what you would do in this situation. I'm just saying I think I'd be easily manipulated when it comes to this sort of thing. So I'd say unless I had some sort of outside information or circumstances teaching me otherwise, I'd be like, okay, and then I'd just go back to the base and me and Remy would just spend time together. For the rest of, I don't know, how long can a human brain live inside we have a dream that feels like years, only takes a few seconds. Maybe we can spend a few million years just hanging out in a skyscraper. I can try to learn how to juggle or something. Hey, I'd had enough time to actually get good at guitar. Or actually not be a terrible drawer. But yeah, what'd you guys do? I'll stay with you as long as you want. We can go to school together, and we can hang out with Daichin, and on the way home we can stop to get some soba noodles. Or go to a CD shop or something. Yeah, that actually does sound really nice. We can keep what we have now forever. I have to see Nanami. She's not there, I promise. How would she know? Was she lying again? Was there a reason she didn't want me going to see my parents' house? I don't want to see you suffer. Is Nanami dead and I just hallucinated her alive? Not again. Stop. Stop all the riddles. Like, is the whole year and a half lost memory of me just, again, like I initially suffered initially and I had part of my memory wiped in order to not be insane? I was just sick of it all. Was I supposed to just never understand what's going on around me? I couldn't keep playing dumb even if I wanted to. Everybody kept throwing mysteries in my face. I just wanted to remain ignorant. There's a reason why I can't go back to my parents' house. Then tell me. I'm sick of all this half-knowing. Sick of it? I was the one who was deciding things halfway, wasn't I? I was the one who'd run away from things. That's right, I should just keep on doing that. What I've always been doing. I should just go home. Remy was right. I didn't need to see Nanami. If I went to see her and she was missing her right hand, what was I even supposed to do about it? It'd be my fault, wouldn't it? She's probably dead. Nanami would hate me. She'd despise me. I'd be the loser who couldn't save his little sister. I'd know for sure just how pathetic I was. If I kept everything vague and uncertain, I wouldn't feel guilty. Yeah, I should just do that. That was the best move. Don't look at anything. No matter how many mysteries people shoved in my face, I could just ignore them all. I could just hide myself away from the whole world. You really are a handful.
ナナがいないと何にもできないんだから。
You can't do anything without me, you know.
ダメだ。
No. In my head are Nanami's bright, cheerful voice.
ダメだよ。
No. If I ran away here, I'd never be able to face Nanami again. I'd never be able to come here again.
タク。
Taku? I clenched my fist, then stepped onto the narrow street that led to my old home. It was less than 50 meters away. At first, my pace was brisk, then I ran. I headed toward the home where I'd grown up. 30 meters, 20 meters, 10 meters, 0 meters. Does it just be like a fucking crater? Like, just a hole in the ground? In the house I knew so well. Wasn't there. Maybe we just got on the wrong street, man.
あれ
Huh? The name on the plate was different. It didn't say Nishijo. The house looked different, too. It was much nicer. Much newer house than I'd lived in. I looked around and thought maybe I just stopped at the wrong house. I don't know, maybe the house we lived in back then got maybe a Boeing 457, like whatever it's called. Like 711, 757. One of the big jumbo passenger zones. Maybe crashed into our house and we were the only person that survived. And we just believe our family's alive. But they're not. But we imagined it for years. And thought maybe I just stopped at the wrong house. But I was wrong. Besides that, nothing around me matched what I remembered. I thought for a moment maybe I'd gotten lost or gone down the wrong street, but that was impossible. Everything on the way here, just as I remembered it, the path here was the same. My home wasn't here. I'd followed the path of my memories. What I remembered being here wasn't here at all. Instead, it was something else. I was seeing something new. I should know this place well. It was like I was coming here for the first
ダ
time.
メビューだ。
Oh yeah! We actually get that version of it. I still don't know how to pronounce it. Or apparently I pushed the right button. It's like, why aren't you reading this all the time? Because the videos are already so long. Libido. The power that causes sexual urges. Do I have to wait until the after?
違うよ。
Oh no, you're not going to give me a definition for that, are you? Deja vu? Veja vu. Yame vu. I don't know. No. Rimi was standing right behind me. Her words were an instant rejection.
この世界に
There's nowhere in this world.
タクの帰る場所は
For you to go home to.
ないの。
Light from the setting sun fell into the hospital hallway. This time of day, particularly dark, it was just before. Night fell, and the lights hadn't been turned on yet. The chaos and noise of the dinner time had subsided. An almost eerie silence descended in its place. Shogun was slowly moving down the hallway in his wheelchair. The sound of the creaking wheels echoed throughout the corridor. He passed through several nurses on the way, but none of them looked at him or spoke. Shogun, for his part, didn't seem to find this unusual. Frail hands, seemingly made of nothing but skin and bones, turned the wheels again. Dude, Shogun, you work for a multi-billion-dollar organization. They couldn't fork the bill to buy you an electric wheelchair? Oh my god. I mean, come on. You gotta have some sort of ethics, evil billionaires. I mean, if you're gonna have a mastermind work for you, I mean, yeah, if he has to use a wheelchair, let him have a powered wheelchair, even if he's not 900 years old. It's like, I have the power of immortality, eternal life, but I don't have eternal youth. It's like you've lived to be 1,000,000 years old, and you'll feel every fucking day of it. I'm just saying, can you not at least buy the serial killer an electric scooter wheelchair thing? Or hell, just have him have an assistant that pushes him. And yeah, oh, what if he wants some independence? Well, he can use the wheels sometimes. But, you know, he should at least have somebody there at all times as an assistant so he can make that choice. As he passed down the rooms, a patient named Yamai had... King Yama began to scream. He pointed at Shogun, shouting frantically. It's Ami! There happened to be a nurse in his room. She looked terribly confused. Look, Ami's back. She was going outside again. That's against the rules. There's nobody there, okay? The nurse looked around and chuckled. Shogun was right in front of her with his wheelchair. But still, she said nobody was there. You're teasing me again, aren't you, Mr. Yamai? But you won't get me this time. Ami. Rami. Tommy. Yamai kept screaming and getting angrier and angrier. Shogun ignored him and continued down the hallway, turning right. The cream-colored wall suddenly became black. Shogun didn't hesitate even for a moment before the wall. He kept going forward, and just before it seemed like the world hit it, the wall vanished. It simply disappeared and revealed the hallway behind it. Shogun kept going forward. The hallway went on for 20 more meters before ending, this time for real. There was a single door which opened a room. Shogun opened the door and went inside. It was a room that didn't exist, one that had been there for rumors, the ghost horses about the stops for years, and the name of the plate outside the door was Takumi Nishijo. Gigalomaniac. The sky outside the train car was turning dark. The Yamanote line car was packed with salarymen heading home from work and students heading home from school. Yua Kusunoki and Usagi Ban were standing next to each other, hanging on the straps of the train, rumbled and shook. They made a strange pair. Yua had been glancing around for a while now to see if they attracted anyone's attention. She kept fiddling nervously with her hair and glasses. She just met Ban a few days ago and wasn't up to making friendly conversation with him. There was only one stop between Harajuku and Shibuya. But the 3 minutes it took to go between them felt far longer than it usually did. Ban was silently looking out the window. He made no attempt to speak to her. In Yua's mind, Ban wasn't a bad person, but he was a little scary. She met several police officers after what had happened with her sister, and didn't have a high opinion of any of them. Maybe that's what made her feel awkward around Ban. That was how she saw it anyway. Look, you get to go to the secret dungeon by beating the bandit on floor 15. I don't know where the bandit is, though. Two men standing near the doors with talking loud voices. Naruto! Sasuke! Okay, like no one. Everyone's like, what are you referencing? There was people. They were making like a TikTok thing in a subway, pretending to be the anime characters yelling at each other. They were also like doing really energetic body movements to try to be funny. Which it was. Loud voice ever since they got into Harajuku. They were making no effort to avoid disturbing the other passengers, and Yua was forced to listen to the conversation. On the left side of the map, how can you miss the bandit? He's right there. I can't tell the difference between a bandit and a policeman now. Look, he's obviously a bandit. How can you mistake this guy for a policeman? Bandits can't have guns. They were wearing unfashionable clothes with bandanas on their heads, fingerless gloves, and had tightly packed backpacks on their back. They were the type commonly called otaku. As an anime and manga fan herself, Yua wasn't really bothered by their appearance. But she'd never been to Akihabara before, and she'd seen someone dressed like such a stereotypical otaku before. She took a few glances at this rare sight before realizing how rude she was being. She quickly looked away. In the seat in front of her, she was a teenage girl, brown hair and a blue blazer. She was typing into her phone, her fingers done with gaudy fake nails. Every time she moved her fingers, the strap on her phone dangled. It had a tiny plastic gun at the end of it. Yua saw what the girl was writing. The girl was holding it at a bizarrely flat angle. It was almost as if she was trying to make sure Yua saw it. Went to a party last night with this cop and it sucked. Lamest old dude I ever met. Hope he dies. Okay. Yua was the girl's age, but she couldn't understand all. It was probably just how the girls talked when they were on the phone. Are we like seeing glitches in the Matrix? But to her, it looked like there was some kind of code. So, Are Bon and Yua the only real people on this subway train, and everyone else is just AI? Okay. Bang. Suddenly, a child's voice echoed loud through the car. Yua turned from the voice in surprise. It was 5-year-old kid sitting next to Bon. He was holding a toy water pistol and pointing at Bon. He was pulling the trigger, but water wasn't coming out. Bong. Ban gave the child a grin. His eyes weren't laughing at all, but the child didn't seem scared in the slightest. Nobu, cut it out. Someone appeared to be the child's mother and came over. She bowed shyly in Bong's direction. I'm sorry. Bong. Nobu, cut it out. The mother's voice was stern, but all she was doing was warning him. She didn't try to take the gun or make him put it down. Is this foreshadowing? Is Momo actually secretly a robot? And she's really gonna fly at us with a sword and kill Bong? I'm really sorry. No, it's fine. Bang, bang, bang. You can see he's upset, right, Nobu? Something seemed really strange at the whole scene to Yua. The mother was making an angry face at her child and looking apologetic at Bon. But that was all. Bang, bang, bang. Stop it, or I'll get mad. Bang, 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 bang. The child seemed completely oblivious to her pleas. He kept repeating the phrase over and over again like a broken toy. His mother still wasn't making any real effort to stop him. Really? I'm really sorry. Bang. Okay, just poor parenting, but okay. But Ban, for some reason, made no effort to stop the child. Yeah, it's called being patient. I mean, that's what a normal person does in that situation. I mean, okay, you see a little kid, good for them. Though there's sometimes like I've been on like a bridge or something, and parents will let their kids walk really close to an edge, and I'm like, oh my god, it's giving me a fucking heart attack. I'm like, what if the kid falls down? They could die. I mean, like, it's like, what do you care? It's not your kid. Like, still, I mean, the person could get hurt. But in this situation, like, okay, just some random kid, yeah, being dumb, but okay, cool. I'll see you later, man. This continued all the way to Shibuya. It's called being patient. The train stopped at Shibuya Station. All the doors opened. The kid and his mom made no effort to get off. Relieved, Yuna stepped off the train with Bon. She looked at him and saw he was chuckling. We have an emergency message. The Bangomon subway line. Hanzomon is delayed due to a fatal accident on the tracks. We apologize for the inconvenience. Lately, I've been getting this weird feeling. Rows of people were walking past the club as they joined the crowd heading to Bon. Suddenly whispered Yua. Are they all just secretly looking at us and watching us? Is like the person in charge of the computer upset with us? Like, dude, I didn't program that part of the city. Stop making me design new city layouts just for your trip to the fucking... I don't even remember where we're going. I assume wherever the trucks are coming from, but it's like... This feeling like a bunch of people are stalking me. What do you mean? I mean, stuff like that happens a lot. The people around me aren't doing anything special, but it feels like they're part of some grand scheme to get me. That's just the way the world is. That's just normal life, man. That's just how life works. That's why Ban had said anything about the child's mischief. Little things like that were happening all the time lately. If you let each one bother me, to go crazy fast. I'm probably just overthinking it. Not many people would be interested in a boring guy like me. But you know, gang stalking's a real thing. How is it different than regular stalking? The victim doesn't know what the stalkers are after, or even who they are. They just feel like every day, no matter where they go, people are out there trying to harass them. That's just the way the world works, man. That's how gangster walk. Gangster walk. Gangster's paradise. We're spending all. Everyone's like, stop doing the karaoke. You're like, I like singing. I'm terrible at it, but I enjoy it. Is it possible they're just overthinking it? Under the it. It sure is. It's hard to tell the difference between the real thing and paranoia. There is no difference. In my case, though, I don't think that's it. For the past 2 days, I've been getting more direct attention. What do you mean? Anonymous threatening calls, telling me to back off. Quite a few of them. For some reason, Bond had a smile on his face as he spoke. Yua felt more scared than he seemed to be. She crossed her arms over her chest. Are you okay? Well, thank you. I'm glad you... Like, obviously, that would be very emotionally upsetting. It happens all the time. Yeah, I mean, get used to that sort of stuff. Like I said, eventually you get used to the negative things, but it's like, there's a lack of cute, positive affection, attention. It's like... At this point, like, how was the FBI got Lunar to stop doing anything? So, I just got him a cute girlfriend, the end. Now he just plays video games. Well, he played video games before, but now he doesn't bitch as much. I'm trying to be funny. He spoke casually, but as he regarded her, the look on his face became more serious. Has anything like that happened with you, Yua? No, I don't think so. If you see anything that feels even the slightest bit out of place, you tell me right away. It's the police's job to keep you safe. Okay. Yua realized that she may have gotten into something more dangerous than she thought. I mean, you wanted to be a cop. You are a delusion. You are a delusion. So, you're saying Shogun made me. Not that I made Shogun or Shogun's me in the future. I am a D sword. Well, fuck. Where's Supreme Kai when you need him? You are a delusion. That's what Remy said, but I didn't have a clue what she meant. I ignored her and began to look at the houses around me. I remember this place. I'd never seen this place before. The house that should be here wasn't. The house that shouldn't be here was. The gap between memories and reality became more and more stark in the light of the evening sun. Nothing's wrong at all. I said this aloud, desperately trying to deny the despair in my heart. That's right, nothing was wrong at all. I'd just gone down the wrong street. I was being silly. Nothing was wrong with this world at all. How could there be? I ran back the way I came and headed down the next street over. But again, there was a gap between my memories and what I saw. I realized my whole body was soaked off with sweat. It was like I was suffering from vertigo, like my legs weren't touching the ground. I felt like I was going to throw up. What's going on? My house has to be here. I walked to elementary school and middle school every day from here. In elementary school, I'd hold hands with Nanami and we'd go together. So are Shogun, Senna's dad, and me all the same person? Like, are the politicians in this world not real either? Are they actually AI as well? Are they also in coma? Are they also delusions? What is happening? In middle school, I'd take a bike. Which middle school? You know, the middle school. Remy had caught up to me. Her voice was quiet. What do you mean? Do you remember the name of the school? Yes, it was textbooky school. Of course I do. It's not even far. It's... What was the name again? Huh? I couldn't remember. I'd gone to middle school. I'd remember that much. But the details weren't clear. It was like there was a fog in my head that was keeping me from seeing them. The name of the school, which class I was in, my teachers' names. I couldn't remember any specific names at all. That's impossible. I mean, I probably just hit my head really hard. There's been a lot of shit going on. I just can't remember. Taku,
聞いて。
you need to listen to me.
あなたの記憶
What's
にあ
in
る
your
のは
memories
この場所に家がある
isn't
じ
the
ゃなく
home
て
that was here.
この場所に家が
It's the
あるはず
idea
っ
that
ていう
this is where your home
思い込み。
was.
そう
Right?
でしょ。
I felt like I was going to go crazy.
だって
But I remembered
僕
the
は
way
ここに
here.
おかしいじゃないか
It doesn't make sense.
それは
Because those memories
作られた
were
記憶だ
created
から。
for you. Don't make that face. Rumi's eyes were downcast. She looked sad as she liked me. There was more stuff I didn't understand, stuff I couldn't understand. I gave up on thinking.
中学には
You never
通っ
went.
てないの。
You never went to middle school. What, did I like draw that thing about not, like I was upset about not going to the school trip because I couldn't walk? I get it, that this is all a prank, right? Right? I know, you and Nanami are friends or something, and they're trying to trick me. Oh man, you almost had me too. I was trying to laugh it off, but Mimi didn't even grin. I'm sorry.
私
Now I have to tell you things that are
こ
going
れ
to
からあ
hurt
な
you.
たを傷つけることを言わなくちゃ。
Okay.
あ
Taku,
なたはね、
you.
本来
You
生きてい
shouldn't
けない存
exist.
在なんだよ。
Okay.
嘘つくな
Don't lie to me. Remy was lying to me. She was my enemy
貼り
too.
付けは
You were the one behind
リーダー
Crucified,
だ
weren't you? When I seen her then, it hadn't been a delusion at all. The new gen killer wasn't the man I'd seen on TV. It was Remy. She'd been watching me the whole time to make sure I didn't tell anybody the truth. That's why she stayed with me.
君はあの
You were there,
血まみれ
covered in
だった
blood.
だから君
So
が
you're the
犯人
killer.
だ
あれはあなたの望んだ妄想。
That was the delusion you desired. How? And why? Was it just watching too much Blood Tune? What's occurring here? I haven't seen an actual episode of that anime. But, you know, we have yet to acknowledge that you... Okay. So it's not that I imagined you into reality. It's really a question of which came first, the chicken or the egg. Because at this point, it's an issue of... It's not that I created her off of my delusion of my love of an anime character. It's not like I was so attached to this fictional anime character, Sarah-chan, that I created Remy in my head as an imaginary imaginary girlfriend. It's that Remy is another person. I am part of Shogun's subconscious, as Shogun is like going in and out of little mini comas, I guess, and talks to her when she's awake. And she was even offering like, hey, she cares about Shogun, she cares about me, but she's like, well, she's realizing that if I get too powerful, Shogun might die, and then I would be the sole personality. She's like, hey. So she loves each person, but she's like worried that the negative effects of me getting too powerful. But like I said, chicken and egg. It's not that I was so obsessed with an anime that I made an imaginary girlfriend who looks and sounds like the anime character. It's that Remy is a real person, also in the Matrix, working for the Matrix people, trying to keep me calm. And the anime was created and fabricated into the world based off of her. So it wasn't that I made a delusion based off the anime. It's that the anime and the anime figurines were created by the people who made the Matrix to look like Rimi. So Rimi came before. So Rimi existed first. The anime was created because of her. That was a delusion. When a Gigalomaniac's delusion becomes too powerful, it will sometimes blend in with other delusions around it. The delusions synchronize. She spoke quietly, as if to make sure I heard. Her calm demeanor just made me even more upset. There were at least 4 delusions synchronized there that night. Yours, mine, the new gen killers, and... I refuse to believe this. Well, I want to know who the 4th person is. I cut her off. I put my hands tied over my ears. I closed my eyes. This is a delusion. That's right. It's a delusion, like the ones I always have. No more delusions. Her voice was quiet and plaintive, but it was an order. I gulped. Or I'll have to erase you. You're going to kill me? Terror ran down my spine. I mean, at least you're being honest with me about it. I appreciate that much. In my mind, Rimi was changing from my savior into some strange creature I didn't understand. You're going to kill me, aren't you? I knew you were a murderer. Why do you keep looking at me like that? Biting your lip, looking down like you're about to cry. It makes it hard to get mad at you. Tell me it was all lies. Smile and ask me if you fooled me. And then we can go back to how things were before. I want to go back. Then what am I? The human created by a Gigalomaniac's delusion, maybe. That's stupid. I have all my memories. Maybe I can't remember some details from middle school, but I just forgot, that's all. You were born a year and a half ago. Well, that kind of fucking sucks. I'm an AI. Great. An AI that wants to get laid. I'll say this, though. There are people that do have certain fuzzy parts of memory, especially in early ages of life, but that's not due to supernatural reasons. That's due to psychological reasons. And I don't want to talk about that anymore. A year and a half ago, that would be right when I started high school. That would mean I'm a baby, just a year and a half old. I shouldn't be able to say anything more than baby talk. You were you from the moment you were born. Are you telling me you saw it with your own eyes? Supposedly we were friends a year and a half ago. Not that I remember it. You and I met a month ago. Great. Well, at least I know that part of my memory was right. And okay, that's that. Okay. At the scene of the crucified murder. I'm not actually a Sume student. Rimi was crazy. Rimi was crazy, just like the rest of them. She was super crazy, even crazier than Senna and Ayase. Then whose delusion am I? Tell me. Takumi Nishijo. Yeah, right. I'm a delusion, right? You're telling me I invented the delusion of myself? You just contradicted yourself. Yeah, that's bullshit. Okay, so Shogun is me, but also Senna's dad. But he's like in a coma thing. And he imagined me as a younger version of him being me of him. Or is this all a delusion of yours? Some crazy shit you thought would be up inside your head. Leave me out of it. I didn't want you to know. I didn't want you to come here. I should have tried harder to stop you, huh? I mean, I'm not sure what more you could have done. She looked up. Her face was firm. Her eyes were gazing straight at me. They had a deadly serious look about them. They were filled with light. She didn't look like she was lying at all. But now, I think it's better that you know the truth. But this is a lie. This was all a lie. It had to be a lie. If it wasn't, I'd go crazy. Who could believe a person who suddenly told them they were a delusion? You should know that the things you do are slowly consuming another person's life. Right. What about Nanami? If I'm a delusion, then my sister and my parents are a delusion too. And that's just crazy. Nanami's real. The way she was talking, it was almost like she knew Nanami. Were you the one who kidnapped Nanami? In a way, yeah. I was so focused on protecting you that I never thought they might go after her instead. I know who kidnapped her. I knew it. She was the demon girl, just like I thought at first. I wanted Rimi at least to be on my side. That wish had let me keep believing for so long. There had been any number of things that should have made me suspicious. I kept closing my eyes to all of them, so I could believe her when she said she'd stay with me. But in the end, she was just like Yua. You're betraying me too, aren't you? That's right, yeah. I betrayed you. I hid a whole lot of things from you. I'm sorry. You can hate me if you want. It doesn't matter if you apologize. I don't believe you. I can't believe you. Despite what I was saying, I couldn't prove that I was real. All the strange supernatural things I'd seen so far came flashing back to me. Could I really be sure that what Rimi was saying was crazy? Rimi slowly walked up to me and held me tight. Caught off guard, I didn't resist. Her warmth, it had saved me when I was in trouble. It had kept my mind from breaking. It had taught me kindness. But now, even as she held me in her arms, her warmth felt very far away. I have to go. Go where? To see the person who kidnapped Nana. I need to put an end to this. To what's going on with Nana. And the other stuff too. As things stand, I can't keep you safe either. That's just irresponsible. You're saying all these horrible things to me, and then running away? Rimi moved away from me a step, and then another step, little by little. She put more and more distance between us. I'll come back. You stay in your room. And then we can talk about all sorts of fun things. You're allowed to be there, you know? Her voice was kind. After all the horrible things she'd said, how could she be kind again? But promise me one thing. No more delusions. Okay? Your delusions are very strong. The more delusions you create, the more it consumes the life of your real self. What? Okay. I'll see you tomorrow. Snap. How about this? Are we all just people in comas, and the more we use supernatural power, we're like frying our brains like we're on fucking heroin? She gave me a salute and a smile that seemed very, very out of place. But then right after that, silent tears began to fall from her eyes. Are you planning to die in this fight? And then you're like, yeah, there's no way I'm gonna come back alive. She quickly turned her back to me and ran, shoulders shaking. I watched her go, stunned, and then collapsed to my knees. What do you mean, the real me? I'm not fake. All the color seemed to have gone out of the world. There was no hope to be found. I had been denied my very existence. My life had no meaning. Not even my death had any meaning. Remy had gone and left my useless self behind. She was my enemy too. She'd been lying to me. And now that she'd told me everything, there was no reason for her to stay with me anymore. She's not coming back. Remy had abandoned me. Because I'm just a delusion, supposedly. I'm just a monster. It didn't even matter. Nothing mattered. I didn't even have the strength to stand up. I still couldn't get any of what she said straight in my head. I was so shocked I couldn't even cry. The cold twilight was stealing the heat from my body. Even the little bit of warmth Remy had left was gone. I looked up at the sky for no reason at all, and the twilight had almost entirely turned to night. It's not a very busy road at all. This is the new one. It's as bizarre as the rest. Did somebody graffiti your windows? Mostly stored the Joe Frog keychain bought and smiled. Is it like a robot now? It's cute though. What is it? That's not the new one. It's the one from last week. What is it? What was it called again? You will look for that was begging for help. Teary-eyed Jiro Froggy. Yeah, that's it. So what's the new one? Sorry, it must have been rough hanging out with a grumpy old guy like him. Oh no. That's a mean thing to say, Momo. Not many men my age are as handsome and as suave as me. Mosa was, however, not interested in Bob's comments in the slightest. She ignored him and brought Yua a cup of tea herself. Bon sighed and sat in the chair as he looked around the office. Frezia's employees usually worked late, but today they'd all gone home right the workday ended. The schedule on the whiteboard showed that none of them were working overtime today. With the office empty, it was quiet as midnight. So, Momo, you look into Thinko for us. Before he'd gotten into the train, Harajuku, Bon called Mose and asked to investigate the company. First, Mose gave Yua a happy smile. Yua, when you finish your tea, you should go home. Huh? It's late. Your parents must be worried, right? Yua could tell what Mose was thinking, and what they were about to discuss wasn't safe for an ordinary girl like her. Are you worried about my safety? Yes, that's right. Mose's face took on a grave look, and she nodded. Yua was grateful, but shook her head. I'm not leaving. I'll do anything if it gets me closer to the truth about what happened to Mia. You shouldn't get involved any more than you already have. I am a part of this. I have been for a long time. There was a strength in her words that made it clear she wasn't going to change her mind. Mose was surprised at the sudden, unexpected refusal. You're surprisingly stubborn. Well, it'd be cruel to leave her out for now, after all that's happened. Here's the thing. What would have happened had Yua not, been discovered in front of that lake, and we had just continued on as we were? Because I did like the way she was then. And granted, this side of her is nice too, but it just wasn't nice that I was being lied to, but it's nice that, the way her personality was being. I like a mix of both. Well, it'd be cool to leave her out now after all this happened. I'll have the police provide protection if she... Are they even real? Are the police even real? Are you and Sua the only real police officer? Heck, is Sua just a delusion created by the one guy? Like, is the guy at that was chain smoking in the government office that's creating earthquakes with like satellite weapons? Like, is this the real world, or am I like, this is the real world, but it's having like Matrix stuff superimposed to it, like Google, iPhone, AR, alternate reality glasses? And the reason why I don't need a D-sword is because I already am a fucking just walking D-sword. And Shogun's like, you're on my D-sword. I'm like, fuck you, man. You're in a wheelchair. And still, like, why can't he, regardless of anything going on, why can't he have an electric wheelchair? Especially like he was out in the middle of the city. It's kind of cheap, man. Mostly low deep side bands. Do you even have that kind of authority? I may not look it, but I work for Tokyo Metropolitan Police Section 1. Most famous department in the country, is it? Oh, I see. Mostly ignored him and turned to stare at you. What you're about to hear is not to be shared under any circumstances, understood? Your life is at stake here. You need to be very careful. Okay. Yua nodded a tense look at her face. Mostly looked at her and sighed one more time before settling back into her seat. Her plump body became even rounder as she leaned over her laptop. So, what did you find out about Finko? Well, you were right. Ban and Yua looked at her monitor over her shoulder. Finko LLC is a wholly subsidiary. Are they all built on GE locations? Nozomi Technologies. The Nozomi Group, huh? That's a surprise. Finko got bought out about 5 years ago, and ever since then, everything they've turned out has been a huge hit. Fat Jiro Froggy, Jiro Froggy, Block Jiro, Radiant Jiro, No Face Jiro, Cat, Limited Time Jiro Froggies, Ghost Jiro, Sleepy Jiro, Burning Jiro, it's like on fire! Zombie, New Shipment, Super Cheap, Drunk, Bug Eyed, Teary Eyed. Okay. Trying to type pants that make lies. Pants that make your legs look longer. So what makes these guys special is the way they do their sales. They always go all in on a new product right on the weekend. Bonzers picked up when you heard the word. Any relationship to the GE rate, whether it was planned or coincidental, Finko's products right because the GE rate changed. That much is clear. Do you remember the GE rate graph I showed you before? I showed you the rate going up weekends past 5 years, right? It matches the right with the timing that when Finko was spun out by the Zombie Group. You think Finko's screwing with the rate? Finko's not that big of a company, they wouldn't have the capability. Which means it'd be their parent company, Nozomi. Feels like Nozomi Group would be able to do it if they put enough resources into it. Which means the whole point of Jiro Froggy is, like, it's not like we're trying to make it popular for sales. It's that we're just testing how much can we influence people. Can we make you guys buy a stupid frog? We can make you guys buy a stupid frog, we make you guys vote for anyone. Wait, Nozomi is one thing, but the real interesting thing is thinking about something else. I went back, though. Documents the company's founding and saw a really big name. A big name? Kozo Inohana. He's a big shot in the meiwa party, isn't he? He was still Dem-Lib when it was founded, though. It's all coming together. What happened with Professor Uta, the earthquake a little while ago? He was putting pressure on the media to censor anything that connects G rate. And about the G rate graph. I looked into some things and found another interesting little pattern. There were two things she discovered so far with G rate. The first was that it rose rarely on the weekends. Wasn't that big of an increase, but it was every weekend except on New Year's, Golden Week, and during Oban. The second was a huge rise during the earthquakes. And the G rate had shown an incredible rise during the earthquake 2 months ago, when 8 people had died, and then 100 people had died. And we're about to have a third one. It's got like 5,000 people dead. And then there's a third pattern. There have been 4 big rises in the past 5 years. They've all taken place at different times. The rise isn't as big as was, but still pretty big. At first, I didn't know what I was looking at, but then I realized there was another event that happened 4 or 5 times in the last 5 years. What event? Don't keep us in suspense. What is it? Elections. The 4 big rises match perfectly the 4 elections held for the upper and lower houses in the past 5 years. Ban, Fro, and Structure's trouble. The election where the meiwa party went from being a minor player to a big party power was 4 years ago, right? And it was 5 years ago when Kozo Inohana suddenly left the Dem-Libs and moved to the meiwa party. Suddenly, there was a heavy silence between the three of them. Somehow, listening to you two talk is making me scared. Yua whispered, voice quivering a little. I'm surprised too. It's amazing to see all line up like this. It's still nothing but circumstantial evidence, though. The only reason we were able to get it this far is because we knew about the G rate. If we hadn't known about it, we would never have had a clue. Ban took his fan from the belt and casually began to wave it in his face. Can I tell you guys a fascinating thing I've learned about teenage girls, by the way? Mose sighed and glared at him. Listen, this isn't the time for this, especially not with you right here. Come on, don't be like that. Ban grinned, but his eyes weren't laughing at all. I'm talking about one girl in particular. Actually, Senna Oi. Or I suppose I should use her real name instead. Senna Hatano. And for some reason, she started using her mother's maiden name lately. Senna Hatano's father, Izai Hatano, is supposedly missing, and has been for a while, but before he vanished, he worked for Nozomi Technologies. Huh? What do you mean? I mean, just what I said. Nozomi Technologies makes mostly medical device software. The Nozomi group got to start with them and went through a bunch of MA until the one of the biggest groups in Japan. 6 months ago, Senna Hatano's mother and 1-year-old sister both died under mysterious circumstances. Her dad went missing right after that. At about the same time, Senna Hatano herself escaped from the facility she was being held at. Facility? Divine Light Dorm, a non-profit child welfare correctional facility. Sounds like a fucking prison! At least that's what it looks like to be on the surface. There's more to it than that. It has a sponsor, the Cosmic Church of Divine Light. I mean, it was in the name of the fucking school. The Cosmic Church of the Divine Life. Mimosi frowned, then grunted in annoyance. There's another name that's bound to cause a mess. Divine Light Dorm went by another name until 2 years ago there this way. Arc Heart Medical Association. Hey, is that what the AH Tokyo Hospital thing is? I don't know if it's coincidence or what, but Ayase's Kishimoto Fest, the singer all the kids in Shibuya love, was there too. Senna Hatano wasn't there at the time. It was her though. Bond leaned forward toward the two of them. And so here's where it gets really... Are we going to mention how I was there as a little kid? And here's where it gets really interesting. Arc Heart Medical Association is a mental health center. Unlike Divine Light Dorm, it took care of mental patients. But 2 years ago, Arc Heart Medical Association suddenly became a non-profit child support center called Divine Light Dorm. When that happened, all psychiatrists there were laid off, but then everyone was hired immediately by the same place, AH Tokyo General Hospital in Yoyogi. That's the hospital where the doctors was killed during the brain dead incident. Yeah, Fumio Takashina. He was a psychiatrist at Tokyo General Hospital. And what's more important, the head of the hospital is supposedly very close to Inohana. Inohana again? Yua? That boy you were so interested in? Takumu Nishijo has been to General Hospital 3 times in the past month. Really? The cops were tailing him the whole time. There's no doubt about it. Nishijo was also hospitalized. Nishijo was also hospitalized. There several years ago, too. The name of his doctor was Fumio Takashina. The hospitalization records are strange, though. He began his stay in the hospital at age 10. The records stopped 2 years after that. But there are no records of him ever leaving. Did somebody alter them, I wonder? I couldn't say. I wasn't able to look that deeply into it. And there's one more thing to know about Senna Hatano. There's a student she's been hanging out with lately, Kozue Arahara. She's a classmate in Ishio's who transferred here about a month ago. She's got a history of her own. Orahara's father works for a Nozomi group company. She used to live out in Hiroshima. There was a nasty incident out there where 3 of Orihara's classmates were attacked by an unknown party and badly injured. They all had their right arms severed with a sharp blade. Orihara was there when it happened. They thought she was the one who did it, but they couldn't arrest her. The weapon didn't exist. There's a rumor that's why she had to move here. The weapon didn't exist? Not that they couldn't find it? Didn't exist. They couldn't even find out what was used. From the circumstances, nobody but Orihara could have done it. But even if she were the one who did it, there was nowhere she could have taken the weapon out from. There was nowhere she could have hidden it. Some people were seriously suggesting it might have been a kamitachi, a magic trick where you make a sword appear out of nowhere. A zanbakuto. Maybe so, right? It's really creepy. You had her arms wrapped around her body like she was trying to stop herself from shaking. It's like there's some greater will somewhere that's behind this. Cops like me don't really believe in conspiracy theories. But this time I'm inclined to. The meiwa party, then the Nozomi group. These are the 2 I think the G raid is involved in, huh? And I bet if we went looking, Cosmic Church Divine Light would be involved too. I don't hear good things about them. Mosi took a sip of her tea and You're awful at your job, Bon. Instead of doing your assigned work, you're investigating this crap. It's your fault for telling me with G right now. Yeah, but it's not worth getting kicked off the task force. You really could have been a lot smarter about this, you know? She wasn't blaming him, though. It was a very roundabout way of giving him a compliment. Mosa gave him a lot of grief, but in her own way she respected him. Hello? What, is there another new gen murder occurring right now? Also, when is that 3rd melt going to occur? 3rd impact. Great. It's like everything's an Evangelion reference. Like, everyone's like, it's a psychology thing. You can't say it's like, oh, it's like, it'd be like saying, oh, is that Master Chief? He's the guy from Fortnite. Yes. I also feel pissed at that joke. Oh my god. I don't think I've ever actually played Fortnite. I've watched some of it and it's just like, I just don't think, it just doesn't look fun to me. But Halo was a lot of fun. Call of Duty, I've tried a little bit of that stuff, I never really got into it. I like the original Halos. The newer ones, not so much. Bond's phone began to ring. He looked at the LCD screen, saw it was from an unlisted number. Is it going to be the Tuna Rase? No, don't be Tuna Rase! No! No, I'm not ready for another earthquake. No! There was heavy static on the line. Bond moved the phone away from his ear and looked at the signal strength. It's good, the problem was on the other end. Must have been somewhere really bad reception, he thought. Hey, who is this? Back off. It was the unknown caller who had been threatening him lately. The voice sounded mechanical. They were probably using a voice changer. Bond chuckled. Oh, you! Would you give me your name? Back off, huh? What am I supposed to back off from? I need specifics. Back off. This was always where it ended. They'd say back off twice, and then they'd hang up every time. It was always the same pattern. No matter what Bond said, they never spoke another word. But today was different. Also, tell Mosa and Yueta that they're gonna die. If you don't. Huh? Bang, bang. Who's there? Sorry. I screwed up. Only then in Bond figure who the other end. Is it Sua? Was Sua basically my babysitter hired by the government? And then he felt guilty about this? And now they're going to like blow his brains out? Only then did Bond figure out who was on the other end of the phone. Is that you? Sua? Yeah. They kidnapped me out of nowhere. Who got you? Where are you? I don't know. They had a black face mask on. It's just one guy, right? Hey, are you okay? Help me. I'm at AH Tokyo. Sua. Hey, Sua. But no matter how much Bond yelled, nothing more came from the phone. Tuh. He hung up. Mimosa and you were looking at him concerned. Something happened to Sua. Ban stood up and lightly slapped himself in the cheeks. They took him to Sua hostage. Looks like he's at AH Tokyo General Hospital. Is it the meiwa party? I don't know, but this looks bad. You should call for backup. If I make this a big deal, Sua's a dead man. I'll go myself. Bond put his fan back on the desk in front of Mimosa, and they looked at each of the women in turn. There was a bold look on his face that was nowhere to be found a moment ago. You two need to go hide somewhere. Safe. Got it? I found myself heading back to the base. My legs were so heavy you'd think somebody had stuffed them with lead. It wasn't just my legs, my whole body was heavy. I told myself that this weight I was feeling was proof that I was real. I mean, at least if I'm not real, can you guys like me be able to... Can I run around like Sonic the Hedgehog? I mean, why do I have terrible cardio, even as a delusion? Nobody paid any attention to me as I walked on unsteady feet through the streets of the city at night. Until just a little while ago, I'd been so afraid that people would notice me, would laugh at me, that I screamed to them in my mind not to look at me. Right now, I wanted anybody to look at me. I wanted them to see me. I wanted them to be aware I existed. I was the exact opposite of what I wanted just a little while ago. But nobody looked at me. If I screamed, they might look at me with contempt. But I didn't have the courage. I gripped my phone with sweaty hands. It was the phone I'd gone to buy with Nanami. There were 4 numbers in the contact list. Rimi's number, Nanami's number, Misumi's number, and the number of my parents' house. I tried as hard as I could to think of a way to use these 4 numbers to prove I was real. You are a delusion. No, I'm not a delusion. I'm real. I'm Takumi Nishijo. I'm 17 years old. I'm a second-year student at Sumei Academy. I have a mom, a dad, a little sister. And help me prove I'm real. I was shaking terribly. My teeth were chattering. I wasn't cold, but I was shaking. Help me. The number I chose was Misumi's. We're sorry. The number you're calling is no longer in service. Hello? Okay. Oh, Miss Sue? It's you, right, Taku? What's gotten into you? How'd things go with Rimi? You managed to lose your virginity? Right? You owe me one, you know? I left you two so you could have your own privacy. Misumi was the same as ever. It was a relief. He knew me. He knew I was talking to Nishijo. That was proof. I couldn't be a delusion. Rimi was just lying. You know, Minako was just saying something to me. Huh? Minako? Oh, my girlfriend. So, anyway, Minako says, she said to me that I'd been hanging out with you an awful lot for the past month and was asking why. At first, I was like, what is she talking about? But, like, normally, I'd never hang out with a guy like you, you know? Okay. I kind of remember meeting you through Rimi, but I really don't remember the details. Wasn't I initially told that I met Rimi because of you? It was the same what I just experienced. No, please, no, don't say another word. Just talk about girls like you always do. Why do you have to talk about this today of all days? Listen. When did you and I become friends? I got scared and hung up the phone. I thought I was going to cry, but no tears came. Instead, it would just feel like my heart had been ripped apart. Next, I decided to call my parents. With trembling fingers, I managed to select the number and press the call button. Nanami was the one who saved my parents' number into my phone. I hadn't been the one to do it, so it was definitely the right number. Would Dad be home at this hour, or would Mom pick up? Was Nanami there? If they did pick up, what would they say? Was supposed to ask if I was really their son? They might think I was an idiot. It was a stupid question after all. Oh, you just say, hey, Mom, Dad, I was wanting to come over and see you. Could you, like, send me a taxi or come see me or something? What if they said no? What if they said our Takumi is in the living room eating dinner with Nanami? What if I called them to prove I was real and ended up proving I was fake? What if they said, "Who are you?" All kinds of terrible thoughts filled my head. I didn't want to know, so I was scared. I was going crazy. It hurt to breathe. I couldn't get air in my lungs. And then, someone picked up. I tensed and held the phone up to my ear. This definitely sounds like a phone number doesn't exist number. I could have used captions for that. Nobody was going to prove that I was real. Nobody was there to help. I wanted to die. I looked up and saw on the Yamamoti street was full of speeding cars. Maybe I'd be better off dead. If I wasn't real, there's no point in me being alive. If I was a monster, the only thing waiting for me in this world was suffering. There'd be no hope, no dreams. My own existence disgusted me. I wanted to be free from all of this. If I died, I could be free. If I was dead, I wouldn't have to think about things. I wouldn't have to suffer. Nobody would laugh at me anymore. Nobody would betray me anymore. I longed for nothingness. I took a heavy, slow step forward. I found a spot without a traffic light. I staggered out into the road. It felt like salvation was waiting for me there. The bright lights of a car's headlights, the piercing noise of a car's horn, the unnerving sound of screeching brakes. Come on, kill me. I'm not real. I'm a monster. Kill me. The impact never came. I opened my eyes. The car stopped in front of me. I was still standing in the middle of the road. The driver got out and was screaming something at me. He was poking me in the chest and yelling, "Why?" I fell to the ground and started crying. Why won't you kill me? Why wouldn't anybody? Why wouldn't you save me? Why wouldn't anybody free me? If I wasn't real, did that mean I wasn't even worth killing? Rimi took out her phone as she walked beneath the train tracks at Shibuya Station. She comes straight here after leaving Takumi. She picked the name label Nana out of her context and called it. The phone was picked up immediately. Yeah, it's me. I have something to tell you, actually. I'm thinking of going to save Nana. Rimi had a good idea who had Nanami and where she was being held. She'd been in the same position herself. It was part of her past she wanted to forget, but if it meant saving Nanami, she was willing to face her memories. The person on the other end of the phone reacted just as she had expected. Rimi chuckled. I guess you don't trust me, huh? It'll be fine. Both her voice and expression seemed happy, even cheerful. There was no sign of the iron will inside of her. Looking at her, you'd think she was just having a normal conversation. It was a long time ago anyway. And between my feelings and saving Nana, it's obvious which one is more important. I told you. I want to help you. And I don't want to get Taku involved. Rimi's expression clouded after she said those words. Hey, can I tell you something? I said a lot of mean things to Taku. The worst part is, I know this is really selfish, but I had a lot of fun when I was around him. I mean, it was just lies, held together with delusions. My life at school, the fact that Taku and I were students there, the fact that Daichin was my friend, even me trying to stay by his side, even Taku himself. Rimi's pace began to slow, little by little. People she didn't recognize were overtaking her behind. Taku's such a wimp. He's so weak and helpless, no normal girl would ever even notice him. As she spoke, her grip on her phone tightened. But, for some reason, my heart's telling me I had fun. For some reason, my heart's telling me I wish I could have spent more
もっと
time.
一緒にいたかったっていう気持ちが、この気持ちって
What do you think
何なの
this
かな。
feeling is? She looked up at the neon-lit sky. You could see the stars. Remy stood there unmoving for a moment. She smiled just a little at the person on the other end of the phone.
さてと、
Okay,
そろそろ切るね。
I'm going to hang up.
本当に大丈夫だって。
Really, it's fine.
あなたは何
You
も
don't
心
need to
配しない
worry
で。
about a thing.
私が全部決
I'm
着を
going
つ
to
け
put
てく
an
るから。
end to this.
ね、
Okay?
匠。
Takumi. I no longer had the strength to do anything. The next thing I knew, I was back at the base. I must have gotten here somewhere after failing to kill myself on the Yamanote Street, but I couldn't remember how. Who even brought this big shipping crate up here? And how'd they get it up here? Until now, I never even thought about it, but now I realized just how bizarre it was. It made me feel even worse. When I closed the door, the room became pitch black. I leaned up against it, motionless. The only sounds in the quiet room were the rumbling of my computer fan and my own shallow breathing. How is the computer not burned out if you're leaving it on all the time? I thought that maybe in the darkness I wouldn't have to think about how ugly I was, but the opposite was true. The silence and darkness surrounding me, Rina's cruel words were echoing in my mind over and over again.
あなたは
You are a delusion. Even my crying sounded creepy and disgusting. I felt like I was going to vomit. I was creepy enough already. If I didn't even exist like regular people did, that was even worse. I wanted to just disappear. I slowly walked over to the other side of the room, tripping over the garbage on the floor as I went. I turned on the lights and drove away the darkness. My eyes fell on the Sertan post-awakening version figure on my desk. I grabbed it and slumped into my chair. I held Sertan close to my chest. She was so small, so hard. She wasn't breathing. She wasn't speaking to me. She didn't have the warmth that a 3D girl did. But right now, Sertan was all I had. Remy had left me. Nanami was missing. Senna had tried to kill me. Kozapi hadn't tried to stop her. Yua was my enemy. And Ayase was in the hospital. These were the only girls whose names I knew, and none of them were going to do anything to help me. Reality was cruel. It didn't care about a monster like me. I gripped Seratan with my shaking hands tighter and tighter until I thought she'd break. I wanted to just disappear. But if that's what I thought, why not do something about it? I was just pretending to be the hero of my own big, sad story. Nobody would take pity on me if I just sat here feeling sorry for myself. Nobody was looking at me. Everybody had abandoned me. No, they'd never been close enough to abandon me. I never had any friends. I didn't even have a family. I didn't even exist. I'm all talk, aren't I? Fine then, just die already. I put Seratan down and stood up from my chair. I found a roll of cord under my bed and picked it up. I made a loop in it big enough for my head to fit nut through, and then tied the other end tightly to the pipe that served at the end of edge of my bunk bed. I'll die then. I'll die. I'll die if that's what you all want. There was nobody to stop me. There was nobody but me in the room, of course. The cord was tied pretty tight. I realized that dying might be easier than I thought. I stuck my head through the loop and wrapped it around my neck. The bunk bed wasn't tall enough for me to hang myself from it while standing. But if I kicked my legs out from under me, that wouldn't matter. All I needed to do was the courage to do it. I gave Seratan one last glance. She was smiling at me from my desk. The only ones who were there to see me go were Seratan and the rows of my wives on my shelves. I was so sad, so lonely. I felt a sniffle in the back of my nose. And then at that moment, the door opens and Yua and Momose walk into my shipping crate as I'm about to hang myself. And I'm like, well, this is awkward. Could you guys, give me 5 more minutes? And then... Goodbye. I put my whole weight into the cord and kicked my legs out in front of me. By the way, that would hurt. The cord tightened around my neck. I could feel the pressure. It was biting deep into my flesh. It hurt. By the way, quick PSA, if anyone out there is thinking about doing something like this, don't. You know, just don't. I realized both my hands had their fingers at my neck, trying to loosen the tight noose. I went to bring my legs back down and stand. That is something, though, if you remember Doki Doki Literature Club, is when somebody else also kind of was left hanging around. If you look at their fingers closely, you can see that they also tried to free themselves. Heck, there's lots of people that have actually jumped to their deaths who survived and who were fully emotionally invested into, you know, that. And it wasn't until they were already halfway down the fall where they started to think, maybe this was a bad idea. But then I wouldn't be able to die. If I didn't keep putting my full weight on it, I wouldn't be able to strangle myself. I decided to just endure the pain. My throat hurt. It wasn't the lack of air that hurt so much as the pain of the cord digging into my neck. Come on, die already. The pain continued. It was so painful that I couldn't even pass out. My body shook, and it was spinning in circles, looking like an idiot with my legs kicking out. The pipe on my bunk bed creaked, and then my body lost its support. Did my bed break? I fell butt first onto the floor. The pain from my pelvis made me roll around the floor in agony. Yeah, hitting your tailbone hurts. Being strangled also hurts. But at least, I didn't do that to myself. So, I gasped for breath. I looked up at the cord with teary eyes and saw that it had snapped in two. Cough, cough. It's not fair. Why was I failing now? Sure, I was a loser. I was a failure of a human being who had never done anything worthwhile in his entire life. Hell, I wasn't even human. We also live on a skyscraper. Wouldn't it have been easier to just jump off the building instead of hanging myself from a bunk bed with a computer cord? But it wasn't fair that I couldn't even die. Why couldn't I die? I want to die. After the pain I experienced trying to hang myself the first time, I didn't have the courage to try again. Somebody tell me an easy way to kill myself. That's illegal in Japan. Even now, I was still looking for others to help me. I was so disgusting I made myself want to vomit. I really was just so pathetic. Hospitals empty out fast at night. Perhaps there was too much life, too much death in the daytime, and so these hours were used to restore the balance. There was no smell of life and death in this hour, only an empty silence. Yasuchiban chuckled to himself. He was a weird guy to be thinking about these things. But it did seem especially quiet today. It wasn't even lights out yet, but the lights in the hallways were off, and there were no nurses to be seen. The second Bond set foot in the lobby, he started to have a really bad feeling. There was no real reason for it. It was just, you might call it detective's intuition. My intuition's pretty damn good, too, isn't it? Maybe that strangely religious thoughts he was having were his way of trying to take his mind off the feeling. He had taken a taxi here and called Sua several times on the way, but Sua hadn't picked up once, a fact that spoke more about his current situation than any of the words could say. There was no time to waste. He had to find where in this huge hospital Sua was being held, and then rescue him, without the kidnapper finding him either. Any kind of shoes would echo off the linoleum floor. Bond had taken off his leather boots before he'd come into the lobby. It was almost winter. He could feel the coldness of the floor through his socks, and it made him shiver. The sound of the main entrance automatic door opening echoed through the lobby before he heard the girl calling his name. You followed me? When he saw Yua Kusunoki came to the lobby, he was so stunned he couldn't even speak. He quickly ran over to the girl. She had a nervous look in her eyes as she glanced around her. Hey, what are you doing here? I told you to go hide. I'm sorry, but Bon looked around for Mose, but she was nowhere to be found. Bon scratched his head. She'd come here alone. Get out of here now. This isn't a game. I know that. Then go. Oh, hi, Shogun. Then he heard a creaking sound come from one of the hallways connected to the lobby. The hallway was empty and dark, and in the middle of it was an empty wheelchair slowly coming toward them. And at almost the same time, they heard a sound of someone running up to the stairs. Just leave. Go. Bon spoke and started to run. He raced up the stairs, following the sound of the footsteps, without bothering to wait for her answer. He was faster and more agile than you'd ever think his usual laid-back attitude. Following the footsteps led him to the roof of the outpatient building. There was a little garden there with planters full of flowers. It was probably a place of relaxation for the patients here, but unfortunately it wasn't lit up. He couldn't tell what kind of flowers were blooming all around him. The wind was strong up on the roof. Still out of breath, he glanced quickly around him. The man whose footsteps he'd heard had definitely run up here, but then he disappeared. Had he been fallen for somebody's trap? The footsteps only seemed like they were to attract his attention. Only possible reason they wanted to lure him out there. But Bond didn't have a gun on him right now. He was nervous without a weapon. He looked around to see if anything might serve as one, but came up empty-handed. He gulped and wiped sweat off the forehead with his fingers. One step at a time, proceeded toward the center of the garden. There were plenty of places for a person to hide. Behind that bench or on the other side of a planter. He sharpened all his nerves to be ready for no matter what came to attack from. The center of the garden was a big circle with bunches all around its outer perimeter. He looked at each one in turn. They noticed something strange on one of them. He slowly walked over to it, being careful not to let his guard down. As he got closer, began to take shape. Darth Spider. Size of a soccer ball, round and black. It was a severed human head. But Bond had been involved in a few murder cases where the victims had been dismembered. They reminded him of photos he'd seen. His bad feeling got worse and worse. The thought might be the partner's head filled with rage and frustration. What's in the box? What's in the Darth Vader Spider-Man? Ben clenched his jaw hard. Arr. I guess he's now a pirate. He took another step toward the bench, and the thing on the bench wasn't moving at all. A cold wind blew. Did I get shot? That's counterproductive to me being alive. And then he heard the gunshot. It was so fast, so sudden that he froze. He was supposed to drop to the ground and look in the direction of the sound, but he couldn't. No. Actually, there was no need to even bother anymore. He felt a burning pain in his chest and touched it with his hands. It was slick and wet. Something was pouring out of his body. He recognized the raw stench. And then a moment later, his brain recognized the pain. He'd been shot. By the time he realized, his legs had already given out. He'd fallen face first to the ground, unable to stand. Did Sua shoot me? Footsteps from before were coming closer to him now. He looked up at the approaching man with vision that was already starting to blur. A black shadow, a gun in his hand. It was too dark to see the man's face. But I can recognize the voice, you dick. He heard a voice. I told you to back off, you know. It was the voice he knew. It's a real shame it has to end this way, partner. Sua walked right past his old partner, whispering in a mocking tone. Is that you, Sua? You're the one who shot me? I came here to save you. Yeah, that's right. First time I ever fired a gun, in fact. Sua laughed as he reached over and picked up the thing on the bench. You know, you seemed awfully interested in this thing. Haven't you ever seen it before? It's a Darth Spider helmet. Sua walked back to him and held the helmet right in front of his face. You know that look on your face? It's not the Sua I remember. Okay, Bond. Maybe we might be able to walk this off. I mean, we are in a hospital. Yua, now is the time to tackle him from behind and take the gun away and then, get me help from one of the doctors down below. I guess that's what I get. He chuckled. He could barely even see now. His limbs felt terribly cold. There was a pain in his chest, but it wasn't unbearable. It felt like an intense gaze, like somebody was looking at him. But he couldn't tell if it was Sua or someone else. Realizing he had only a few minutes left to live, he forced his body to turn over. Is he going to try to write Sua on the ground? Now he stretched out, looking on the ground, up at the sky. It was cloudy. It's not Danganronpa. He's not going to write a name. Though, and he could, and besides, wouldn't Sua notice that? And he could see the stars. He couldn't even see the stars. If they had been out, his vision would have been too dark to see them. Cough, cough. As he coughed, he could taste the blood in his mouth. You know, Sua? You're an idiot. You're still a kid. Just a little dumbass detective. But you know, I liked you. I always found you incredibly annoying. Well, I can understand that. His breathing was getting rapidly shallower. There was a wheezing sound as air fled from his throat. His vision was now totally black. Who are you? That was Bond's last question before he passed out. Sua answered as he pointed the gun at him. The new gen killer? A mage. Stupid kid. At some point the wind had stopped. The darkness was suddenly quiet. The two silhouettes stopped moving. But that was only for a minute. Sua slowly pulled the trigger. May the divine light save you, partner. Yeah, I was kind of hoping Bond would live. Grim entered the room. Current members too. Is Hazuki Grim? Great. Fuck you too, man. Have you gone crazy? Or did your IRL girlfriend dump you? Let me tell you something you want to hear then. Kind of reminds me of the music video for the song "One" by Metallica, which is like typing out SOS with like his head. Oh, if you stayed a virgin to the age of 30, you can become a wizard. Great. You learn to use magic. That's important, so don't forget it. It'll be on the test. And while I'm telling you these things are important, Shibuya Scramble Crossing. One hour from now, something big is going to go down. Got that shit out. Go see what's happening then. You're famous. They'll all be excited to see you. What do you mean you're? You're not supposed to know Nightheart and Nishijo are the same fucking person. Nishijo Takumi may be a famous name, do that fucking skyscraper thing. But You're not supposed to know Nightheart is me. Hey Grim, who are you? Are you the nurse? I have to go pee now. I'll be back. Everyone's like that. Hey, that's why you just shouldn't be drinking tea all the time. I'm back. The weather seems like it's bad lately. Heck, a lot of times during the middle of the day, it's even though it's late March, it's been dropping down to 20 degrees even during the daytimes. I mean, heck, I don't think it's gotten warmer than 40 degrees Fahrenheit recently the past 2 days. And for a while, it was starting to get warmer, and then and it does seem like it rains, but it usually, like, at least we're not getting snow, but it's like we're getting rain and high winds. We're definitely getting a lot of high wind. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if tornado sirens started going off. But it's like 33 degrees Fahrenheit right now. 4:25 a.m. March 23rd, 2024. It's raining. It's literally just warm enough for it to not be snow. If it was like 1 degree colder, it'd probably be snow. The weather's been... I don't know what the proper word for it is, but it's as cold as it can it's rainy, but it's as cold as it can possibly be without the rain becoming snow. So it's like, it's cold, but I can see it flooding in parts of where I can, the parts around the buildings. So I can see the ground getting flooded and water and little creeks and rivers forming. But, it's as cold as it can possibly be without anything freezing. But yeah, Grim, there's also another problem. Here's the thing. If I've had somebody I've been talking to this whole time, who have I been talking to? Hell, that's also another red flag. The fact that, if I'm talking to somebody online, why do I only have one online friend? If anything, if I'm an otaku that doesn't go anywhere and just talks to me online, I should have lots of people that I could just either already know or just look up so I can annoy them. But yeah, you're famous. Yeah, you're not supposed to know Nightheart is Nishijo. Like, it's one thing, okay, Nishijo is famous, but you shouldn't know I am Nishijo. You're famous. They'll all be excited to see you. Maybe somebody will kill you there. So, are you Hazuki? Are you Shogun? Was Grim a Shogun all along? Is Grim Hazuki? After all, me saying to Grim I like girls with glasses caused Hazuki to wear glasses. I turned off the power to the monitor and pulled my legs up onto the chair.
殺してよ。
鬼ってば
I was holding my one ally, Saratan, in my hand. My hands were so sweaty their slimy torso was now sticky and disgusting. Her arms were still bent at an unnatural angle, too. I still want to actually look at, like, why is there no game mode where I can just look through all of the different anime figurines he has on his desk and his shelf? Hey! Open the door! But if I do that, you'll see the bruise around my neck. That voice. No, how? Stupid brother. There was no mistaking it. Out of all the girls who visited the base, only one was the type to yell like that. Nanami was here. I was a little shocked at how little emotion this inspired in me. I just didn't care, even if Nanami was here now. What difference did it make? Also, not only due to your emotional state, but due to something you just tried to do a while ago, your body's going to be in a bit of a reserve state just because you're low on oxygen and energy. Plus, it would have affected your dopamine effects in your brain. So, honestly, the best thing you could probably do in this situation is drink a little bit of water, drink a Red Bull, and eat something with a decent amount of sugar and that tastes good. Also, you want something with some unami, like, protein, grease. What are we going to do? Like, oh, what's a cure? Arby's. Arby's is like, stop talking about us. Like, I'm going to keep making fun of Arby's. Arby's is like, it's like everyone's like, what did Arby's the building become sentient and is now crying? Like, I'm sorry, Lunar D8 made Arby's feel bad. What difference did it make? It wasn't even that strange that she'd been here. Rimi had just said she was going to save her, right? It's really mean of you not to open the door. The way she was yelling was starting to annoy me. I'm a monster just leaving alone. Is Nanami grim? Just forget about me and think about your right hand instead, not that I even know what happened to it. I never wanted to talk to another person again. Brother, my door is not locked. Unless I had more padlocks. I mean, Senna, Hatano, Aoi, Tsukomi, Tsukio, Tsuchigami. It's like you cannot remember how to say that one form of the Sharingan, can you? Like, I'm trying. I'm just saying my door is not locked. And you've barged in before. But she was just annoying that I found myself getting out of the chair and heading to the door. I felt like I was taking a long time to get there. That's when I realized I was afraid of seeing her. Hello? Well, you have two hands. And I don't see a bandage from this angle. I opened the door to Tsunami there. She started in surprise, letting out a small cry, then fell silent. Brother? She'd been so loud a moment ago, now she was quiet. What's up? I didn't understand. I'd never really seen her like this. What's up? So, I started to wonder, was this the real Nanami? If you're home, you should have answered sooner. Can I come in? Okay, see, it's still too dark for you to see anything. I couldn't say a word. I'll say this. I was in a relationship once where somebody attacked me. Granted, it doesn't show up too much in video anymore, but I can look at my arm right now and see it. Still have a 3-inch scar on my arm, but at least it's mostly faded. But I can look at my arm and I can see it. Though I suppose everyone out there would be just like, well, that's why you don't marry a crazy person. At least my mental illness is just, I'm depressed and lonely, and have low self-esteem and just have low energy or just want to talk to anime figurines. At least I don't do that in front of people. At least, all things considered, I'm harmless. Unless, you're Dairy Queen, at which point I'm coming to your Dairy Queen to eat your ice cream. Everyone's like, that's what Dairy Queen exists for. I wore long-sleeve shirts for 3 months to cover up that scar on my arm until it healed enough. Thankfully, it wasn't very deep. Any deeper, though, I would have required stitches. Then again, I couldn't really do anything else about it. It's not like anybody would have helped me. In fact, had I even tried to get any help from anybody, other people, innocent people, would have gotten hurt. So the only way to protect others was that. I ignored her question, went back inside, and sat down on my sofa. I gripped the Saratan figurine. Again, I was holding it a little too tightly, and my hand hurt a little. Yeah, my hand might be bleeding at this point, though. But even that pain was a delusion. Naomi followed me into the room silently. She seemed like she didn't know what to do, so she moved a few of the magazines out of the way and crouched on the floor. Are you real? Why is your right arm out of shot? She seemed like she didn't know what to do, so she moved a few of the magazines out of the way and crouched on the floor. Your eyes seem a bit teary, though, because you can see that in the corner of her eye. She didn't say a word. Normally this would be when she started lecturing me about something. But instead, she just crouched there, staring at the floor, depressed. I could see a bandage around her tight right wrist, poking out from under her sleeve. I was about to tell her that if she sat like that, I'd be able to see her panties, but I stopped. This Nami was just a delusion. I was too. The whole world was just a delusion taking place inside my brain. Me and everything I was seeing right now, all delusions, all fake. It didn't matter whether I could see her panties. Hell, it didn't even matter if she walked through the streets of Shibuya naked. I looked away from Nanami and up at the ceiling. I started to count the rust spots there for no real reason. I didn't want Nanami to be in my field of vision. It would just make me even sadder. The silence continued. The only sound in the room was the sound of my computer fan. Nanami used to be so annoying and loud when she came to the base. Maybe even those memories were a delusion. Hey, brother? Say something. She sounded depressed. This wasn't the Nami I knew. This meant she must be a delusion. Why won't you say anything? You don't care about my bandage and stuff? I focused my mind on counting the rust spots. I didn't care. You're just a delusion. Even if you're real, you're not my problem anyway. If I'm a delusion, I'm not even really your brother. Say something. Please. Suddenly I could hear the sound of a rustling cloth echo quietly through the room. My ears were ringing. My head hurt so bad, but this was all just illusion. So I didn't care. Nami could take off her clothes or a bandage. No matter what weird thing she did, it wouldn't surprise me. I didn't care. This was a delusion. I was one too, of course. Weird stuff would happen randomly. That's how it worked. Come on. Look. I didn't look. I was scared to look. The bruise has mostly gone away. It was really bad at first. I tripped and hit it when I was playing basketball. You're not going to look? You know, you never worried about me at all, have you? I worry about you all the time, though. I didn't want to see anything anymore. I didn't want to think about anything. Hey. Nanami? I called out to the girl in front of me, who might or might not be my sister. I don't even care if you're real or not. That was the only thing I wanted to know. There was only one thing I wanted to know. Would you please kill me? Just outside the front... Everyone would have heard the gunshot. Just outside the front door lobby of AH Tokyo, Yua was staring at what lay beyond the automatic door. Bandit told her to leave. So she had come outside, but she had been too worried to go any further than that. Bond had disappeared up the stairs, chasing the mysterious figure. It had been less than 3 minutes, but she was looking into the lobby to see if he would come out. After Bond had gone alone to the hospital, Yua had ignored Momosi's warning and gone after him. She needed to do whatever it would take to find the truth behind her sister's death and who had killed her. Somebody had sent Bond those threatening phone calls and kidnapped his partner, Sua. Whoever it was, they were probably the person who killed Mia. Something was telling her that, and so the urge had come to follow him. She couldn't fight off. So did you tackle Sua at the last moment so the gunshot didn't hit Bond in the head? Despite all of his warnings, not getting involved, dangerous, she'd come here anyway. Of course, now that she was here, there wasn't anything she could do. She was just a powerless teenage girl. Her hope? I don't know, maybe you can materialize a sword. Her hope had that Bond heroically catch the killer, and then she'd have a chance to question him. Why did my little sister have to die? That was the question Yua had wanted to ask most of all. She felt somebody looking at her. She glanced around nervously. The sun hadn't been down for more than 2 hours, but the hospital front entrance was eerily silent. The after-hours entrance was right next to it. This was also where the emergency patients would be brought in, but there was nobody there. A train was passing right outside the hospital, but there was almost no cars on the wide street in front of it, no pedestrians at all. This spot between Shibuya and Shinjuku, the two towns, never slept. It was like a shadow born of the two. Okay, so the same thing when I wasn't seeing people on the streets at Shibuya before. It wasn't that I was a delusion and didn't see the people. Is that the people were never real to begin with, and then they were being added in. I just had them either when they didn't load the program or it exceeded bandwidth or something. They were too busy with other shit. It was like a shadow born of two powerful lights. Whoever was looking at her, she couldn't find them. She put a hand on her chest and took a deep breath to calm her nervousness. And then, for no real reason, she looked toward the hospital wards. Hi, you, Mia. Oh my god, is that meant to be a pun? Yua, Mia. You are Mia. Yua, Mia, Yua, Mia. Split. Was there never a Mia? Was it just me being multiple me's? The other Mia is dressed very nicely, though. Ah, a girl was standing there. The lights at the entrance of the ward were off, and it was hard to see, but for some reason, she could see the girl clearly against the darkness. Or am I being force hallucinating to see someone?
Mia.
Is that Hazuki? Mia? She whispered, knowing it was impossible, and yet unable to stay silent. The girl looked just like her. It looked just like the dead younger twin sister. She recognized the girl's outfit, too. It was her younger sister's clothes. She thought for a moment that it might be a ghost, and the hairs on the back of her neck stood up. The girl turned around and ran, heading toward the automatic door that marked the entrance of the hospital ward. When she got close, the door opened, so she wasn't a ghost then. Yua stood there for a moment, stunned, before starting to run after her. The wards must have been past the lights out because it was even quieter than outside. Each step Yua took was far down the hallways, just like the outside. The quiet was almost eerie. The girl disappeared up the stairs. She heard what sounded like a faint laugh. It was like a scene out of a horror movie. Yua thought to herself. Showa took a step upstairs and then another. She arrived at the second floor. She looked down the hallway, but there was nobody there. She wondered if she was seeing things when... Okay. She heard a girl's laugh from the floor above. The voice, the way she laughed, Yua knew them both well. Yua went up to the third floor, looked down the hallway, and saw a girl who looked just like her standing there. Okay. One of the victims in the first New Gen group died, her sister who died 2 months ago. She was standing there as real and as solid as anything around her. The music in this game is still pretty awesome. Hello? Impossible. Impossible! Yua took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes, but when she put them back on, Mia was still there.
Mia-chan.
Mia?
どう思う?
What do you think? The voice was far too clear to be hallucination. There was a fearless smile on the girl's face. It was just like Yua remembered it. Mia was always like that. She always used to laugh in such a mocking way, so she could play the villain.
Mia-chan.
Mia?
本当に
Do you really think that I'm Mia, and you're Yua? What is Yua, a delusion?
どういう
What do you mean? Or is that Yua and that's Mia? What do you mean?
もし
What if it was the other way around?
あなたはミア
You're Mia.
死んだのは
Yua died. And you killed her.
あなた
What? Do you have multiple personalities? Did Yua? Is Yua Shogun? What are you talking about?
あなたは
You were jealous of how your parents loved your sister. You hired a killer over the internet. Really? Is that... We would remember that.
しかも
And then you had 4 other people jump to their deaths along with her to make it look like a suicide.
あなたは姉になり
You took your sister's place. You pretended to be sad about her death. And while you wept crocodile tears, you were smiling to yourself because all your parents' love was now yours.
心の中では北総園で
Okay, well that's a bit of a twist. Is it true? Or are you just bullshitting her? I'm not sure what to believe here. No, that's not true. No! That's impossible! Everyone's like, your Luke Skywalker impression sucks. I'm Yua.
誰がそれを証明する
Can anybody prove that?
私は言うわ
I think I'm Yua,
でも
but you can't be sure.
私を
What proves that I'm me?
証明する顔
That's the neat part. You don't. My looks, my memories, my name.
自分のことな
I
の
know myself better than anybody.
自分で自分を
But
証明
I
する
can't
の
prove that myself. Myself.
私が
It's like, what's your Bankai?
可能性も
It's like,
あるの
I am Kenpachi, the Blood Knight, stereotype, trope character, who just wants a fight. Who are you? What is your power? Hello, Kenpachi. Behold the power of my Zanbato, Bankai. It's like, what's your Bankai? Existential dread. So it's possible that I'm Mia.
あなたはいろいろと
You
調べ
looked
てい
up all
た
kinds of
じゃない
things when you were doing your research, right?
多重人格
Multiple personalities,
有病
sleepwalking,
記憶捏造
false
そ
memories,
れから
and delusions.
妄想
All the research Yua had done about how imperfect memories were, and how easily they could be faked, suddenly seemed truly real for the first time. She didn't know who she was. I can't read! She didn't know who she was. Who was she? Mia shook her head violently.
あなたは誰
Who am I? Who are you? The Yua, the girl who was always played goody two-shoes, who was automatically loved and praised by her parents. Mia, the girl who always played the bad girl, who actively sought out her parents' hate while being jealous of the affection they gave her older sister.
さあ私も
Now it's your turn. Now it's my turn. Mia, or maybe Yua, began to guide Yua, or maybe Mia. Without a sound, they began to walk.
私と同じ目に遭いなさい
Suffer like I did. Are you trying to, like, confuse her to make her kill herself? Are you trying to trick her into jumping off a building? You and Mia, two identical twins, they distinguished from each other. The boundary between them grew more and more distinct. Somebody is, like, mind-controlling Yua to try to... Though, I wonder, is it possible that Mia hired... Like, maybe the character we're... Like, that's what we've been seeing this whole time, is Yua, and the actual Mia did hire a killer, but the killer didn't kill the person they were hired to kill. They killed the person who made the contract. So, Yua is the real Yua, and the actual Mia did actually try to betray her, but was killed when she herself contacted the thing. And now the killer is now broadcasting images of the thing into the actual Yua's mind to try to fuck with her. And then when she hears a gunshot, she'll come to her senses, and then she'll tackle Sua, saving Bon's life. Two buildings were two huge boxes standing there in the darkness. But compared to the huge skyscrapers of Shinjuku, next to them they were like children looking up at grown-ups. The roof of the ward was where Mia had brought Yua. There was a gap torn in the corner. A tall fence surrounding it, just big enough for a person to pass through. It wasn't clear who had made it or why. Mia and Yua went through the gap and stood at the edge of the roof. In front was the outpatient building. It wasn't as tall as the building below they were on. They could see the garden below. But there were no lights, and even if somebody was there, Yua couldn't tell. The wind was blowing hard on the roof. The two girls' clothing, long, soft hair flapped violently as the wind blew into them.
私たちはもともと
At the very
一つだっ
start,
たんだから
we were one.
また戻るだけ
All we're doing is going back. Or was there never like two sisters and it was just one girl that had split personalities from like youth? Like, maybe she was always both Yua and Mia from the very beginning. But there was a body. There was definitely a body in the group dive. Or was it? Was that just, like, falsified too? Just one step forward. And you'll be me, and I'll be you. Yua's voice was monotone. Her eyes were empty. She being, like, mind-controlled. She spread out her hands to keep her balance against the violent winds. Mia was right next to her, spreading her outer hands in the same way. She turned to Yua and laughed. You don't have to keep your balance. That is, on the one hand, not a nice way of talking to me, but it does remind me of the way Yua did start talking to me at some point. So maybe, like, the Yua that was talking to me was always Mia as well. Both Yua and Mia were always the same person. You need to know my pain. Now, jump. And then, you and I will share the same pain. Which am I? You? Me? It doesn't even matter. Whichever I am, you're going to jump. All hesitation disappeared from within her, and Yua went to take a step forward. But then Ayase saves her. Or the gunshot woke her up. A gunshot tore through the night air. Suddenly Yua came back to her senses. She looked down beneath her and screamed. She saw how high up she was and suddenly felt dizzy. She lost her balance and almost fell. She grabbed desperately to the fence behind her and just barely managed to avoid falling. The gunshot had come from the roof of the other building below her. She looked down at it again. She could barely make out a human figure in the middle of the rooftop garden. There were two of them, one lying on the ground, the other was standing next to it. Bon? Had the detective shot someone, or had someone shot him? What are you doing? Why won't you suffer like I did? It's not fair. You're not being fair. Mia? No, I'm Yua. I'm Yua. You're Mia. Stop fucking with my head! It's like, hey, who can I... It's like, what are you? You're a delusion made by a serial killer who is trying to gaslight me into killing myself. I'm what you desired. You're what I desired. Did you fucking push me? Oh no, you're strangling me. That's also bad. Mia leapt at her. She wrapped her hands around Yua's neck. Yua felt incredibly pressure around her throat. She couldn't breathe. I need that oxygen. My lungs need that. Mia was no ghost. There was a real physical body in front of her, and it was strangling her. Please, die. Do what I want you to. Just this once. I always let you have your way. So you are Mia. Yua's vision turned red. That's also normal in that circumstance. Her hands flailed through the air, but she couldn't grab onto anything. She was going to die here. In the face of this overwhelming fear, Yua's every muscle in her body pushed back against Mia with a strength she didn't even know she had. Adrenaline power, but Mia was too strong. The future refused to change. She didn't budge at all. Ayase, please assist. Now, even Yua's thoughts were turning red. Her mind felt like it was being covered in sticky red blood. She shook her head violently, and her glasses fell off. Now, from the outside, you couldn't tell who was who. Whoever won could be whoever they wanted to be. If Yua died, Mia could become Yua. Mia died, Yua could become Mia. Yua fell to the ground, a sense of resignation within her. We are wearing different outfits. In front of her face, a new Mia, or perhaps Yua, blurred with hatred. She looked away, not wanting to see it. With red eyes and reddening vision, she saw one of the flower beds and the flowers on the rooftop garden. It felt like there was a strange shadow mixed in with them. Oh, we're getting our sword. Maybe her eyes were playing tricks on her without her glasses. But now she could even breathe. She felt a tiny sense of peace working its way through the pain. Part of her thought that maybe she'd be okay if she gave up, but her survival instincts made her reject the peace she felt. Yua reached out toward the strange shadow. The planter was at least 2 meters away. It was far too far away for her hand to reach. But she felt something cold and hard in her hand. She grabbed it, and almost unconsciously. And then her fading consciousness became clear again, as if the fog had lifted. Hello? A powerful invisible shockwave hit the air. Red lights, like flower petals, danced in Zanbon Sakura. It's like, oh, you got a sword. It's like, no. Her twin sister was knocked away. Yua coughed and staggered her feet, then looked down and awed at the item in her hand. It was a sword. So dazzling and elegant, so sharp. So aquiline, so pure. So delicate and fragile, so bewildering and mystical. And so beautiful it brought you to tears, and so beautiful it brought you to tears. Hopefully it has healing powers. Bond needs that. Or, you know, we can just get one of the doctors. We are at a hospital. What is this? Right, we don't have glasses on. The thing in her hands was a giant cock. I mean, the first thing it reminded her was the sword she'd told Bond about. The one she had seen Iyase holding in the tunnel. What? What was that? Mia crawled out of the planter that the shockwave had knocked into her. She was holding her head in pain. What did you do? Mia, I finally understand why I was so obsessed with figuring out why you died. Did you try to kill me? Was I about to die again? Again? In the end, I was just afraid of you. I thought you died to get back at me. I didn't understand you. I wanted to prove that it wasn't my fault you died, so I'd feel safe. I am a terrible big sister, aren't I? Why won't you die? There was no sense in talking to her anymore. Two hearts that had once been one were now completely separate, never to rejoin again. Mia came at her once more. You remembered the pain she felt just a moment ago and shivered in terror. No. There was a flash. The sword in her hand curved a sharp arc. It sliced the ghost in two. Mia froze. She had a stunned expression on her face. Mia ran her hands along the wound, which ran from her left side to her right shoulder. There was no blood. Mia died 2 months ago. So who are you? Large particles, big enough to see with the naked eye, began to appear around Mia's body. Are you Momose? Her body began to bubble and gradually fall apart, its outlines fading away, and then it transformed into something else. Yua looked on in shock. In Mia's place appeared a fat man. He was wearing a denim shirt and filthy jeans and had a backpack on his back. It was a man she'd never seen. Who? Who are you? Why did you look like Mia? How? Confused, Yua began to step backwards. D's were still in her hand. The man hadn't expected her to see him. It appeared, and he was beginning to panic himself. How did you? Don't tell me this kid's a gigalomaniac. Nobody said anything about that. Shit! What do I feel like that guy would have said that with like a certain tone. Okay. The object was almost perfectly level as it flew at him, as if gravity didn't exist. Did somebody shoot him? By the time he turned around, it was already clear. It had stabbed itself into the backpack he was carrying. That wasn't me. Who stabbed you? Was that Remy? Pale flashlight came from the backpack. Did the backpack self-destruct? Went perfectly stiff, as if hit by electric shock. His eyes were rolled back of his head, fell forward on his face. He was foaming at the mouth and his body was twitching. The thing that had struck his backpack... I think that's Ayase's blade. It was a beautiful curved sword, like the one Yua had just grabbed from the air. Yua recognized the weapon. She had seen it once before. Someone was coming closer. Yua looked up. She saw someone appear out of the darkness. I just came up to take a look. I guess something big happened, huh? Kishimoto? Ayase gave Yua a sword, a single expressionless glance. I can feel it. The great will. This must be the reason that I remained here in this hospital. Huh? Yu had fallen to the ground in shock. Ayase picked up Yua's glasses off the roof and offered them to her, taking a knee to look down at her face. Her slender fingers gently stroked Yua's hair as she put the glasses on her face. So, you too are a Black Knight of Gladiol. Her smile was weak and fragile. So did Bond live?
僕を殺してくれないか
Well, we'll see how that works next time on Dragon Ball Z. It's now 4:58 a.m. March 23rd, 2024. Well, almost 3 hours. Yeah, I really do need to start trying to make shorter videos. Bye.